Welcome to the Dirty Side of Leadership podcast with Ron and Kristin, where leadership meets entertainment. This podcast features stories with names and certain aspects that have been changed to keep submissions private. Enjoy the show.
Welcome to the Dirty Side of Leadership podcast, where leadership meets entertainment. Thank you for joining us. And in this episode, we want to provide you with 25 jobs that do not require any college. Ron, I know you were in Grand Rapids doing a presentation last week. How did that go?
It went great, Kristin. It was so cool to be back in a federal building. I usually speak in conferences, but this was a staff meeting, and it's always really just a great experience. It was a Gerald R. Ford federal building, and so they really pay homage to their native son. But I did have something interesting happen that I think you'll enjoy. I refused to tell Kristin this offline because I wanted her reaction.
I'm learning at the same time as everyone else.
Yep. This is a reaction video by Kristin Sokoloff.
Yay.
Okay, so in my training, and you and I talked about body language before, there's something in cadence that sometimes, and I'm going to peck on the mic, and this is for people driving, I won't be annoying, but there is a cadence when people are telling the truth. Like if you say, I did not steal that item. Do you see how my timing, my cadence was right on? But body language experts have watched thousands of people. And when people are lying, sometimes their cadence goes off. They will be like, I did not steal that item. Somehow the brain, when they're lying, the cadence doesn't follow. So in my training, I use O.J. Simpson. And I actually use where in his interrogation, he goes, I'm sorry, he is asked if he killed Nicole Brown Simpson. And he goes, I did not kill Nicole Brown Simpson. His timing was off. His cadence was off. Yeah. So body language experts, this was early on. They said, this guy's lying. He's lying. His cadence is off. So I'm getting ready to go up, and this is part of the presentation. I'm doing the ingredients for success. And I'm sitting there, and the chief judge was speaking before me, the chief federal judge. And he was a wonderful, dynamic guy, but it's stuff like I knew it because it involved what I used to do, but wasn't particularly interesting to me because I don't do it anymore.
Right.
So for just a moment, I just kind of get my phone. I hope that judge is not listening. I'm still afraid of judges. I swear I am. We were so afraid of federal judges.
Rightfully so, right?
So anyway, I just kind of got my phone out. I'm seeing if I got any text message or whatever. For some reason, probably habit, I checked social media, and it says, O.J. Simpson dead at age 78. So I'm sitting there like I'm about to go out, like I'm right after the judge, and he's at the end. So I'm like, is this real? Because, sometimes there's crap on the internet. Right. So I start scrolling, and it's like 4 different places I find O.J. Simpson dead. So then I'm in this dilemma. What do I do? And I thought it would be very memorable, but, when you say too soon, is it 10 minutes? So anyway, I can't tell you I felt remorse, but it's another story. I absolutely believe he killed Nicole Brown Simpson. And I've got a lot of reasons why. So I go up, and in my mind, I'm starting to get distracted. So I'm going, do I use that? Do I use something else? Mm-hmm. So I just went ahead. I said, in the O.J. Simpson, and I did the whole, signal. I mean, the cadence of it. And I saw 2 people whispering in the back. So I thought, I'm going to tell them.
You have to address it.
You got to tell them. So then I go, it was odd. I started not to use this because O.J. Simpson died. I just saw it on that. Well, then people started to get their phone out, and I thought, oh man, I made a mistake. So I said, please don't get your phone out. I verified it. You can check right after I finish. And I said, I probably should have used something else. So I still don't know if it was the right thing to do, but I definitely will never forget. They say where you were on 9/11. You know where you were.
Right.
I'll never forget where I was when I saw O.J. Simpson had died.
Oh my goodness, right? No, I think, honestly, just hearing it, that's a heck of a story. It's very difficult for those that don't do public speaking to just scrap a bit that you've rehearsed and practiced and it's on point. That, especially when you're like about to go, like it's very difficult to scrap
Thank you,
it.
Kristin.
Yeah, I mean, that's just the reality of it. And honestly, I don't think too many people are heartbroken. And I think it was perfectly okay to
Yeah, I
do what
just
you
didn't know
did.
if like it distracted, for the next segment, like if they're sitting there thinking,
I
because I'm sure
see.
there's mixed emotion. But anyway,
Yeah, yeah.
I got out
Well,
alive.
interesting. Good for you. That is a really interesting story, and you were put in quite the dilemma, but you came out on top as always. And
OJ.
I saw a little blurbs or a little video clips from your speaking conference, and it looked awesome. So super
Thank
interactive.
you.
Yeah, I can't wait to see one live in person. I can
You will
only
be.
imagine the energy. I know that'll be very fun. All right, so before we begin, I want to go back to our topic here. Please understand that we are not against college per se, right? There's some great things. There are some great careers that absolutely require college. So depending on what you want to do, there are definitely jobs that require college. So we're not against it, but college debt can be crippling, and that is just the truth of it. So listen to this. According to the Federal Reserve, the student loan debt balance in the U.S. has increased by 66% over the past decade. And now it totals more than 1.77 trillion. And I do have a wake up call for all those who hear that and then say, oh, big deal. Biden is going to cancel student loan debt, right? I have a story, and there's plenty out there. But this one is a 46-year-old woman who was told that her nearly $200,000 of student loan debt was going to be gone due to Biden's student debt forgiveness plan for public service workers. When she found out, this is her quote unquote, she kept saying to herself, I actually can't believe it. I can't believe it. I can't believe this happened. Can't believe this is true. She says, I was crying. I was tearful because it worked. Not quite sure what that means. It just felt like I did the right thing, she says. 3 months later, a letter from the student loan servicer arrived on her doorstep. And basically, the loan had been cleared as a mistake, and she still owed $192,000. And it basically said, we recognize you currently participate in this PSLF program. However, you have not achieved the 120 qualifying payment it's required for loan forgiveness. Bottom line is she then owes this $192,000 back, right? At 3 months later. But here's the part that I posted this on social media, and there was quite an uproar because one, when you take on debt, you should never take it on hoping that the government is going to wipe your slate clean, because that's just not the right approach at all. You take on debt with the understanding you're going to pay it back, right? And so this woman took on debt with that understanding, thought it was going to be wiped clean. Reality set in. That was a mistake. But here's what she says. My kids were going to do summer camp. This is like a East Coast 3-month, the entire summer camp, bougie, right? Expensive. I was going to study for the bar exam. So I might have to put that off. And now I don't think I'm going to have enough money to buy that new car. So it just really, people ripped into her, rightfully so, because she had all this money that she owed. She thought the government was going to wipe it clean. Surprise, now you owe it. But it just shows she was just going to go right back into debt with a bar exam, sending her kids to an expensive all summer camp, and then buying a new car. What do you think about that, Ron?
There's so much running through my mind. Number one, the founding fathers did separation of power. That's why Congress has to approve. And I'm not being a know-it-all, but I knew that was going to get shot down by the Supreme Court police. The president can't just throw money at a project. That's what the separation of powers is for.
Right.
But I am paying on a Parent Plus loan. So, maybe I'll change my mind if they offer me the money. I don't know. No,
goodness.
seriously, one of the first things, this is free, folks. One of the first things I do when I'm coaching a younger person is I have to say this multiple times. No one's going to bail you out. Stop looking for anyone to give you anything. Make it happen. Are you going to work with me or are you going to go look for a handout? Which one's it going to be? And it literally, it's like they almost got hit by a car when I tell them that. But when you get to that mindset, and Kristin, I don't know if you've had a chance, but I just posted in our Facebook group this evening, and it's so good, or it's so relevant. I wanted to see if that would pop up real quickly, but it's along the lines of what we're talking about. Yeah, I got it right here.
I haven't seen it yet.
Yeah, this is the latest Facebook post. It says, rich men use most of their money to get richer. Poor men use most of their money to look richer. And I put in here, I remember when I got my first significant pay raise, I went out and bought an expensive car. Big mistake. When your finances improve, always wait a couple of years to make any big moves. Agree or disagree? And of course, I'm getting a lot of people who agreed with that.
Yeah, seriously.
But it did tie in well to what we're talking about.
Yeah. And I mean, we talked about this also in our episode, Loud Budgeting. And it's so true. And I really liked this, resonated with me because I've shared openly that I enjoy shopping mainly for clothes. But you talked about the relationship with money. Do you remember what you said about that, the way you treat money?
Yeah, money treats you.
Yeah. Yeah. And then can you break that down just a little more?
Basically, what I'm saying is that money's not something you just throw around. You treat, I know people who are broke and then they find $20 in shorts from a year ago. You treat money with respect. You treat money, you think it through, you operate in a strategic manner, and money will work for you. Money will treat you the same way. That's kind of what I'm saying.
Yeah. That resonated with me. And I really like that. And I think it's something that people should play over and over again in their minds, and stop trying to keep up with the Joneses, because that's just the longevity is not there with that MO for sure.
Yeah. And, Kristin, I wonder, because I just love cars. I always have. I had a 65 Corvette. I painted cars in high school, and I just love it. So I'm not 100% sure I had anybody in my mind that I was keeping up with, but it was still a poor financial decision for me. And even right now, if you ask me the worst financial decisions, it was always when I bought automobiles, not a house. I've never regretted that. It's always, buying a house. But back to the original point is, I hope that our listeners, one of the developmental processes that we need to go through, we talking about changing our mindset, is the fact that we get confident that we can make it happen. I can pay these debts, because here's the point. And I know people that work for a living know what I'm talking about. There's nothing free. Somebody's paying that student debt. Well, I'm paying my daughters. I paid my oldest daughter. I'm helping my youngest daughter. I don't want to pay for everybody else in America. Right. So, we are so messed up with money in the government. And we just got to be careful as a nation, because we are in decline financially. And that's not a political statement. $31 trillion, no matter who you are, that's
facts
a reality.
Over feelings. Yeah.
All right, we better get into this.
All right. So we won't even go, let's talk about another college aspect here. So we're not even going to go into some of the philosophies of some of these major universities in this country, but let's just say more time could be spent on learning instead of professors indoctrinating students on their ideas of politics, religion, etc. So, Ron, I'll let you take it from there before I go off in the wrong direction.
Well, I'm just going to be factual. As you know, when I was even researching for my book, I had leaders tell me that they had people come out of college that didn't know anything, and they didn't have the basics. So the philosophical stuff is cool, the Socrates method or the Socratic method, where they get you to think deep and all this stuff. That's fine. But you got to have a certain skill set when you come out of college. And that's one of the things that the problems that we're lacking in some of the more liberal arts type degrees. So we got to get back to learning.
Exactly. I have to interject real quick. Have you seen the meme? It's very, or not even a meme, I'm sorry. It's a video of a girl who's fresh out of college, and she looks very young, but she's complaining that and she's a brainiac. She has all these different certificates and degrees, and she's talking about how the only job that she can get right now is working for somebody named Bart, answering phones in an inbound call center. And so many people, I felt bad for her on one hand because I'm like, no one prepped you for the real world, clearly. And then on the other hand, I'm like, you know what? This is hard knocks, right? You gotta learn, and you gotta put your foot in the door and work your way up. Did you see that, Ron?
I had the exact same takeaway as you. There is a part of me that felt for her because it's a reality that they're dealing with.
Right.
And there's so many opportunities that have been stolen. And so I felt bad for her, but you're right. She was a little bit entitled in the way she was phrasing it. So anyway, all right, we can go on and on. We do understand that college isn't for everyone. I've talked to people who say they freeze up in tests and they're better with their hands. They're kinesthetic learners. And I teach some stuff about this. And now they're starting to learn that some people are blended. They like to hear, audible, see, they're visual, and then they like to do hands-on. So it's more of a modality in the modality of all three. So some people are just not cut out for lectures, and we get that. Also, there's different skill sets. There's life circumstances. There's some people just can't go to college because, the family never helped them at all. So maybe they can go back later. So we're not judging anyone. And Kristin knows this and she agrees, but I usually tell people don't even use the words tech or assistant. You get out there and make it happen. I do know you might have to work your way up, but we are going to be giving you some jobs that are out there now that if you are deciding you want to better yourself, you need to latch on to something and start building a foundation, start laying a foundation. Right. Maybe there'll come a time when you can go back to school, or maybe you'll get promoted if you keep the right attitude. So that's kind of the way we're heading here.
Yeah, absolutely. So one last thing, stay with us until the end. Ron is going to share 5 tips that we use in our career coaching program to help set yourself apart in a reference to the jobs we're going to discuss. All right, moving. And do you have something to?
No, go ahead.
I heard this like breath. Usually I know when someone wants, it's like this breath that comes out. All right. All right. So to our topic, not having a college degree does not automatically diminish your chance of snagging a high paying and rewarding job. Think about that. That is a true statement there.
Yep.
So we're going to share the 25 best jobs that don't require a college degree. Ron just said that. I want to reiterate that they do exist. These include positions open to those with only a high school diploma, as well as careers that require some post-secondary education and training. Most of the jobs, except for the ones that Ron and I added from personal knowledge, are taken from the U.S. News 100 Best Jobs ranking. The data in that article comes from the U.S. Bureau of Labor Statistics. So those are the sources here. So they weren't just made up in the clouds. They actually exist.
Yeah, and if you are planning a career, let's say you're younger and you're listening to us right now, you do need to consider AI and robots and things like that, because truthfully, it is estimated, thousands and thousands of jobs are going to be lost every year because AI is going to be taking over those jobs. So if you're thinking about your career, do a little bit of research and say, is this going to be a human doing this job, or is this going to be AI?
Wait, I have to tell you, this is insane. On that topic, I literally just saw a YouTube or an Instagram reel where it's a bot doing eyelash extensions. That would freak me out, but it was doing it. Just
wow, did you
probably
get a
better
number?
than a human.
I've been wanting to get that done.
You want to get those. But that's something so many women get those. And it's literally each eyelash has an extension put on it. Can you imagine a robot is doing that super finite motor skills? I mean, that's wild. So what you're saying is 100% accurate.
Yeah. According to Forge.com, we'll give this little bit of information.
Yeah.
Jobs such as data entry, eyelash extensions, apparently, basic customer service roles. And Kristin mentioned several podcasts. Remember the pizza place you said?
Yes. That just popped in my mind as you were talking.
So I thought about that today.
Yes.
And even though I said this before, but you said we were laughing about the pizza not being good, but I thought, well, think about it. If they can do eyelash extensions, they can probably improve the pizza.
Exactly.
Also, service roles, roles where you're providing services for people. Bookkeeping might be vulnerable because, let's face it, a computer can do math faster than a human being. So according to Samia Zafar, he tracks this stuff at Medium.com. He mentions jobs with thinking tasks are more vulnerable to replacement. Scary,
Wow.
but true.
It is scary. That is scary. Yikes. All right. So here's one thing that I added as a bonus. Although it wasn't listed in our research, I'll start with this little bonus for you guys. So, as most know, I have a 20-year banking career, and I started as a bank teller. And that is absolutely a job that you can take without any college. So, I did not have a degree, or I had a high school diploma when I got this job, and I ended up going to community college at night while working as a bank teller during the day. But I worked my way up. This is all without a degree. I worked my way from bank teller to lead teller to banker to branch manager, 1, 2, 3. And then I went off to manage and start an entire department. So I did all of that without having a degree. I have college, but I didn't achieve a degree. But for that industry, I think it's really important to understand there were so many times where I was recruiting people to come work for me and they'd go, "Oh, I don't have a degree." I'm like, "And I don't care. It doesn't matter." Right? Because you can hire the skill and build them. So anyways, that's one that I thought was really cool to be able to share with everybody.
Yeah, I did as well. And I am actually, and we will zip through these, folks. Stay with us. But you mentioned something that I'm glad you did. I've got a friend, Chad Udi, who listens to the podcast, and he's risen in his career, and he is a dynamic leader. He and I have lunch once a month. I hope he doesn't mind me mentioning this, but he doesn't have a degree, and sometimes he mentions that. But if I was going to hire someone, you can give me master's degree. I'm going to hire Chad. He has got these amazing leadership skills, interpersonal skills, communication skills. He's the guy I want. So I'm glad you said that. So a lot of people, if you're listening, you can work your way up. You got to start somewhere. Like we talked about this female, start somewhere and show that you are a value add to that company, and think good things will happen for you and to you eventually.
Exactly. And I think it was even last week's episode, I mentioned that I hired somebody without a degree over someone who had a degree from Stanford. And they didn't love that, but I made the right hiring decision, right?
Yeah.
So that's a big deal, something to hold on to.
All right. What we will do, folks, is, I think you'll find this interesting, but some of these will let you know where they rank in the money, but not all of them, because it could go on and on. So we'll just kind of zip through some of them. First one is a sheet metal worker. And I do want to tell you, there is a large faction of workers, and also even in Congress, who want to bring manufacturing back to the United States. And I got a feeling you might get an edge up, because we're going to get to the point we have to have manufacturing, and people are just not trained the way they used to be. So this may be a gold mine. So a sheet metal worker, it's the median salary is $55,350. But again, I think that might go up, but it's about fabricating. So if you're good with your hands, you're artistic, and I know artists are going to get mad at me right now, but there is some art to sheet metal working. All right, take it over.
Yeah. I was going to say, I was going to start out with, Ron and I are going to go over the top 25 jobs that don't need a degree, and if either of us ever dated anyone in that industry. But I decided to leave
we know
that
who
part.
will win that one, folks.
Oh my gosh. I was thinking
used to date
about
a sheet metal worker. Go ahead.
Dating is so different. When I say dating, I'm literally talking about going on a date to a restaurant, right? I feel like in today's world, it's something completely different. So let me just put that out there. Might have dated a lot of people, but it doesn't mean the same as what it means today. So with that said, okay, medical assistant. And medical assistants, we deal with them. I know that sounds negative, but we interact with them anytime we go to the doctor's office, right? That's just an industry, the medical industry. It's always going to be there, and it's always going to have openings. So that's a great place to look. Medical assistant. I know Ron likes to say, don't go for medical assistant, go for a physician, but
brain surgeon.
Just go right to the top. But this is a great job, stable. You'll always need it. You can work your way up. That's another thing. You can work your way up into being a potential lead in that position. So that's a good one there. I'll go over the median salary, $38,270. Again, this is going to vary greatly depending on what region you're in. But here's what I really like about this report. It shows expected new job openings by 2032. Over 100,000 new job openings for that position alone. So
Yeah.
that's something to keep in mind.
Okay, number 23 is a security guard. Now, I know there's some people that makes fun of security guards, but if average salary is $34,750. And as Kristin said, it says 14,900 jobs are going to be available. But here's the point. Security jobs a lot of times are not dangerous because you're just kind of watching over inventory or something like that. So there's a lot of good security jobs. And I've got a friend who they hire all ages. So he is a CEO, and from his office window, the security guard pulls up and puts his security pants on behind a bush, and he gets to watch him every day, see him in his whitey tighties.
What?
He
he
changes pants. It's a real story.
Oh my gosh.
He changes pants and then he strolls in. I'm not going to say where. He strolls into the place and he's on guard. And I really did ask the question, like, what if something really goes down in CEO because we're screwed?
Oh my gosh. Here's what I want to say though, because when I saw this, I'm like, in this day and age where we have high crime, personal security is actually a quite growing industry. So maybe not like a public security guard or a mall security, right? But if you go into, and you can speak on this too, Ron, because you have all the training. I know my husband does. A lot of retired law enforcement do it, but personal security, you can make a lot of money, and the need for it is huge.
I will say though, that does take a special skill set to do that, because I sent my resume to Jennifer Lopez. I've heard nothing, but anyway, let's move on.
Oh my God.
J-Lo, if you're out there, hit me up. Okay. The next one is a carpenter. This does take skills. And I'm going to tell you something. In my neighborhood, I don't know how it is in Portland, Kristin, but in my neighborhood, people are on waiting lists to get things done. And even my parents, now this is masonry, so think about that as well, block laying. It took them a month because the block layers, now this was a rural area of Virginia, were all busy. So I started thinking, man, if some young person wanted to get on with a block layer and learn the trade, they would have tons of jobs. So if you have that, a little bit of that engineering mind, mathematical mind, you're good with your hands, you need to think about carpentry. It's a median salary of $51,390. And of course, there will be plenty of jobs, and I don't think you're going to be unemployed. This list does give an unemployment rate, and it's 4.6%. And I'm always skeptical of that because I almost believe if you want to work, you can find work. And carpenter is a great way to be an entrepreneur. I had one here that did something. He told me he worked for someone and he decided I could do this. He had to learn the business end, but now he's doing great. So there you go.
Yeah, it's incredible. And Jesus was a carpenter. So there's that.
There's that.
All right. There is a teacher's assistant. Now, this is interesting. We were talking a little bit offline. There's, because of 2020 and the pandemic, there are ways to become a teacher that is little bit unorthodox, right? Like I know that they've, at least in the past 3 years, were granting like almost like emergency teaching certificates. Like Ron said, some of them have like, okay, you need to get your degree within X amount of time, right? But a teacher's assistant is a job that does not require a college degree, and the median salary, $30,000 and change. And it says that they're expecting about 1,000 by 2032. So I'm going to take Ron's stance on this one. Instead of teacher's assistant, go for that teacher emergency certificate and see what it looks like in your state or your county, because I know around here they are in dire need of teachers.
Yeah, and teacher assistants, I'm sure. So if people want to start there, that's all cool. All right, the next one is a taxi driver or Uber, Lyft, and especially with Uber and Lyft, and I'm not promoting these companies, I'm just saying we've never had a time, like younger people doesn't realize, but they are with DoorDash. Every time I turn around, someone's coming in and getting the bag of DoorDash, and I have to admit, I do order sometimes. I use Ship to order my groceries.
Are you ever worried that they've contaminated your food?
Well, they have it they do a good job of
I
sealing it
know.
up
I
because
used
I
to do
looked
it
at
all the
that. You
time, and
can tell if
I'm
someone has
nervous.
ripped the seal. So I think they
Okay,
do a good job with that. But
that's good.
the point is that you have control of your schedule. There's never been an opportunity like that. Let's say you're going to college and you want to go make some money, you do an Uber in the evening. Now, taxis a little more, I think, bound by being in the car, sitting
Yeah.
at the airports and things like that. But taxis are now using apps as well because
Mm.
the taxi service got hit like 60%
Oh,
because of
yeah.
Uber and Lyft and others. But it is a great way to bring on a side hustle. And like I said, and
Yeah.
Shipt and all these other Uber Eats, there's tons of those things. And if you live in the right area, you can certainly make some money for
Oh,
sure.
yeah. It's interesting on the taxi piece of it because I lived in New York City for a while. And my husband's a New Yorker. The medallions to get a taxi, one, there was a waiting list for a
Yeah.
long time to get a taxi medallion. And I believe, now this is going back 10, 15 years ago, I believe they were $300,000 for a medallion. So when people were ticked that Uber and Lyft were not available in New York City, I can understand that, but it took a while because the taxi union, right? And how much they have paid for those medallions. And then you have someone come
Yeah.
in and all they need to do is put an application through. Pretty brutal, but they disrupted that industry big time. I'm glad the taxis are actually starting to use an app now too to stay relevant.
Yeah. And I traveled a lot, but I was in DC very often. And there was a time when the taxi union, they won for a while because I had to walk an extra section over from the airport to get an Uber. They
Mm.
couldn't come in the same line as taxi. But now it seems, and somebody may know more than I do, I just traveled and got an Uber and it pulled right up and got me from the airport. So I think that's changed, but yeah, they fought hard. The taxi unions fought hard. And just a funny
Yeah.
side note for our listeners, I used to get in taxis all over the United States and in a lot of the big cities. It'd be just like, I'm from the South. How are you doing? Fine. Where do you want to go? They were just rude. In
Yeah.
DC, New York, especially Chicago, they were rude. And all of a
Yeah.
sudden, Uber starts coming on the scene. I kid you not. I got in a taxi in DC and he's like, "Hello, sir. How's your morning going?" And I want to go, "Oh my God, the taxi drivers
Yeah.
can talk."
Well,
So,
here's what's wild about that. And because this is a leadership podcast, I want to just insert this. The difference is because in the taxis, they didn't have a rating system. Well, you weren't able to go in
that's
and
right.
say, this dude was an a-hole, right?
Yep.
Smelled like BO. He kept the windows up, hot boxed me with body odor, right? Like none of that was even available. So there wasn't that follow-up piece, that inspection piece, that outcome. And so you have Uber and Lyft where it's all about accountability. And so, of course, they're going to be nicer. They're going to make sure they get you somewhere on time, make sure the car smells nice. They even have little candies and mints half the time. So it's that accountability piece that is missing in
Yeah.
so
Yeah.
much of life, really. All right.
Kristen, I have to do this because
Do it.
it just happened and it never happens to me. I've had great experience with Uber. So I walk out and people in the South will appreciate this more, or they should be appreciative with the weather. But today was 84 degrees in Charleston. So the pools are already going strong. So I leave my home and I get to Grand Rapids, do my thing and all that. The Friday morning when I'm coming out of the hotel, it's 42 degrees, it's sleeting.
Oh,
And so anyway, I'd gotten an Uber and I got in, the Uber pulls up. It is a lady. I don't know if it's a boyfriend, a brother. I have no idea. I get in the back of this thing. I always check the tag and she said my
yeah,
name.
yeah, yeah.
It had trash all over it. I kid you not.
Ew.
And they have a rating system, right? This guy, when I said, "How y'all doing?" I didn't know what to do. I started to just get back out. And the guy didn't even speak to me. And then
Oh
he
my
starts
gosh.
coughing.
Ew.
So it gets better. So I'm driving.
Oh.
And I'm like, "Good Lord, is this a rob? Like, what
You
is
said
this?"
this is Michigan?
This is but I want to say something. Grand Rapids was a clean town. I was very surprised.
Okay.
Low crime, great people.
Well, that's good.
It's not Flint. It's not Detroit. It was cool.
Mm-hmm.
So anyway, I'm riding along, and I mean it's pretty bad. And then the lady goes, "So where are you heading to?" I said, "Charleston, South Carolina." And she goes, "We're moving there."
Oh, lovely.
It's like, oh my gosh. I can go on and on.
My gosh, we're moving there.
Just
That's
keep
so
going.
bad. You're like,
I
hope
said,
you don't get
why don't
them.
you consider Portland instead?
Yeah, they'd fit in more at
Yeah.
the trash. And
Oh, God.
oh my goodness, sad but true. All right. So number 18 here, construction worker. That is a hard job. There's always going to be a need for construction. Get this. The expected new jobs open by 2032, 62,000. I mean,
Yeah.
that's a big number. So, I don't even know where these people are coming from. Everywhere I look, they're building. I know the town I'm in, it's overpopulated. I can barely get the internet to work half the time. So there is constantly going to be a need for construction. Sounds like your area as well. Now
Yeah.
they're showing the median salary is 40,000. I know around here, I know construction workers, they make almost triple that actually. So of course, this is going to be what we're looking at our numbers from across the country in 2023.
Yeah. It's a
But
median.
yeah, median. So, but here, gosh, I know we're looking at way more than that. So that's a great job. And, you talked about earlier, some people are just meant to work with their hands and that's what they
Yeah.
enjoy. And there you go. I know this next one's very hands-on as well.
Well, the next one's auto mechanic. And I did hear some, mechanics who really felt that, they were on a dead end path because of EV, but we find out now that Ford scrapped its whole EV program, lost billions of dollars. So
Yes.
mechanics aren't going anywhere. Now, people are looking for hybrids. That's the most popular thing people want to buy. So you are going to have some computer knowledge and be able to diagnose things as an auto mechanic. But a lot of these bigger garages will send you to school or, sometimes train you on the job. But I know some of the Volvo mechanics, we have Volvo here and they're sent off to school and they make big bucks. So, and the unemployment rate, by the way, is 1.7%. Average salary is just under 50 grand. So, not a bad trade if you enjoy that kind of thing. And by the way, one last thing, Kristin, is, I was Mr. Motivation, master's degree. I'm going to the top of my career, all that stuff. And I realized a lot of that time I was stressed. And if I went back, I don't even know if I'd even do the same path. I probably would have done something with a lot more peace because I end up divorced and my ex gets part of my money. So I'm just saying, I think people should pursue their passion, their heart. As long as you can make a living, don't be ridiculous. But
right.
If you can make a living, do it.
Yeah, exactly. I know, right? Life lessons. Okay. Optician. Now, these are the folks that specialize in fitting and dispensing eyeglasses and contact lenses based on prescriptions. Okay. So this is not the actual eye doctor. I think I want to just be clear there. The median salary, 40,000, expected job openings, 2,000. So that is a job. I actually forgot about that. I always think the eye doctor, right? So the optician, yeah, those are necessary. Almost every office is going to have one.
Yeah. The next one's the delivery truck driver, but you could put this into long haul trucker or whatever, and you got to have a certain personality. But if that meets your personality, I've got a relative that does long haul trucking. In my brain, like I can't understand how in the world you would stay on the road, but he loves it. He's done it his whole career. And so even little delivery truck runs, like even Amazon, everybody there, these trucks, you see them everywhere. You see UPS, you see all these trucks everywhere. So there's a market for sure. And the new jobs is 133,800. Average salary is 40,000. But I agree with you, Chris, and I think that's low. Unemployment rate's very low, 3.7%. So something to think about.
And I know a family friend is a UPS. He does short haul. So that just basically means he's home every day, but he drives far. I'm talking like Seattle and back, right?
Yeah.
But that's still considered short haul. And gosh, I'm not going to give an exact numbers here, but we're definitely talking six figures.
Oh yeah.
So this number is definitely low.
Yeah,
But
any of those construction, any of those we're saying, those are six-figure jobs. It may take you a little bit of time, but most of those, especially if you live in a populate like Charleston, those are six-figure jobs.
Yeah, definitely. This one also plumber. It's so funny growing up out in the country, we called plumbers turd herders. And then we called electricians Sparkies. And half my friends went on to be turd herders and Sparkies. So it's a very lucrative job. Ron's over there like, oh my gosh, I can't believe she just said that. But a plumber, I mean, that is one, there's always a need for a plumber. And everyone's going to need you at some point. You can go industrial, you can go residential. The median salary, $60,000. Expected new job openings, 10,000. And this is a big deal because think of every time a new home is built, they need a plumber to come in and get it set up. So there's really going to be an endless amount of need for this industry.
Yeah, plumbers don't take no crap.
Kristin,
how many plumbers have you dated? That's what I was wondering when I started
I never dated one, actually.
Okay.
Just friends. Yeah.
Well, I'm dating one now, so be careful.
Yeah.
All right. Next one is ophthalmic medical technician. Again, research technicians, the assistants, technicians, all of these things, there's a lot of jobs out there. The unemployment rate's only 3.1%. You're going to make around 40. That's probably going to go up, and there's going to be a lot of openings. So it's something you want to think about for sure.
Yeah. And well, let me just break down what they do real quick here, because
okay.
that's what I had no idea. They conduct the initial part of the patient's eye exam, which typically includes taking the patient's history, performing, what is that, refractomy?
You see what you did? I skipped that. I tried to get past it, and then you called me out. It's refractometry.
Refractometry. Oh my gosh. You know what? Just leave. We're just going to let this ride.
If you're going to apply, make sure you can say it. That's what I would advise.
And assessing visual pupils and all that. You know what? I have to just put myself out there. I'm a little bit of a hypochondriac, and I have never had an eye exam. I have great vision, knock on wood. And someone got in my head the other day and they were like, you should go. You've never had an eye exam. You need to schedule one. You're 42. You need an eye exam. I scheduled one and then I canceled it the day before because I was like, what if they tell me I'm going to be like, I have some like weird disease and I'm going to be blind by like 50? Or what if they're like, I don't, what if they give me the drops and my eyeballs, what is it? The dilation. What if they don't undilate, right? Like all these things went through my head. So
I'll call you big eyes.
I'm still outstanding on an eye doctor appointment. So
I want to keep this going. I want to monitor this.
I'm freaked out. Yeah. I'm like, can you do it and not dilate my eyes,
wow.
please? I know, right?
Okay.
Yeah, moving on. Okay, medical records technician. So this one, a little bit higher median salary here, 48,000. Low unemployment rate, big need. Expected new job openings, 16,500 by 2032. And so they're also known as coders or coding specialists. They manage patient files. They can access the electronic health records. So very, everyone needs that. That's something you're going to see in every single office.
Yeah, absolutely. All right. This is one of my favorite because I did it in high school, auto body. And this is a skill that's not going anywhere. There's always going to be crap. There's always going to be people having fender benders and accidents. So these things aren't going anywhere. The median salary for that is just under 50. And again, it's one of those that I think it's going to go up. And if you've got a skill, you enjoy doing auto body, I will tell you, the wear to the respirator because it is hard on the little lungs.
Yeah.
But man, I used to get so much pleasure, Kristin. And my uncle passed away and I was at my cousin's and she's got a photo album he kept of almost every car we painted before and after. And they're on Polaroid. So it was so emotional for me because I had a story for every one of them.
That's awesome.
It was very cool. So very cool profession and something, if again, might be a little hard on the lungs, but you may want to give that some thought. And I'm going to get into the 5 tips. So I'll do that. I was about to get ahead of myself. Go ahead.
No, do you want to jump into that or?
Let's go through these last 10
kind of buzz them.
And,
yeah. So we have hospitality, median salary, 65,000. And that, hospitality is kind of a wide range, but meet, greet, and seat customers, relay information to the staff, serve customers, clear tables. A lot of times you're going to see that in a hotel, that type of industry. I'll just read a few others here.
Yeah.
Maintenance and repair workers, median salary 45. We've got a pharmacy technician, and that median salary is 38. And this expected new job openings by 2032 is I think the largest we've seen so far, 26,000.
Yeah.
So that's a big one right there.
Pharmaceutical industry.
Oh yeah. Massage therapist, 50,000. And gosh, it's tough when you're a massage therapist, when you find a good one and they move away, that stinks. So you can make a lot of money there because a lot of people are seeking alternate medicine. Flight attendant. I have a friend who's a flight attendant without college. She absolutely loves it. Travels the world. 64,000 median. All right. You want to take over?
Sure. U.S. Post Office, any of the government, look at the .govs, and but the Post Office is the largest employer with the government, and they are hiring all the time. You can make between $14, $33 per hour, average salary around 40, but that includes some of the lower scale jobs. If you work your way up and take the postal exam and work at the front, then you're going to make more money. The other one's electrician. Now, this is a highly skilled job, doesn't require a degree, but you got to have that mathematical mind. My father took the electrician certificate, and he and I are polar opposites. There's no way I could do that. I have a master's degree. I could never pass that. But it's around 50 grand, and that's low. That's a median. But if you're a good electrician, you can make bank for sure. Yeah. Take the last two.
Yeah. So community health worker. The average is 47 and 10,000 new openings expected by 2032. And we've got a hearing aid specialist. That's very specific, but absolutely necessary. And median salary 60, a lower number of expected job openings, but still that's pretty niche. So I think that's a great one to go into. All right, Ron, you're going to bring us through.
Yeah, as promised, I want to give 5 tips. And I, by the way, I've been using these tips probably, 10 to 15 years and have helped people get jobs. And they're very basic, but think about it. So first one is you get to know someone in the industry of interest. Don't go in blindly and apply for something that you don't know anything about. Try to meet someone, see if they'll have coffee with you, see if they'll have a conversation, and start to build your arsenal. Get yourself prepared. Right. Number 2, and this is huge. I just coached someone on this, Kristin. I had someone complaining, a Gen Z, they had sent out 200 resumes and didn't hear anything.
Whoa.
I hear that a lot. I mean, maybe not 200, but I hear that a lot. Because all of those resumes, if that's all you do, you look like everyone else on paper. Everybody's got the degree, or or everybody's done a volunteer project. Everyone's done, everyone's got a prior job. You got to make yourself stand out. So I have them focus on 5 to 10 companies they actually want to work for. And we put a career objective, and you name that company in that career objective. I want a position with Volvo so I can add to the vision and da-da-da. Yep. You show that you're interested. You try to, again, go back to number 1, you try to get to know someone there who can give you some tips. Then you begin to call HR and try to get your resume looked at. So that's kind of, when I say, customized, that's what I'm talking about. Internships. If you can secure an internship, that's your pathway in. You get to show your skills, your talents, and all of those things. And I have personally hired someone that did an internship. The next is volunteer. I had someone come to me, and I get it. If you have to have the money, I do get that. But I had someone coming to me going, they're going to give me an internship, but it doesn't pay. So I'm basically a volunteer. I said, if you went in that industry and it was a very profitable industry, sometimes you got to lay the groundwork. Exactly. And this person did not like that and did not take it. And I guarantee it would have led into something great. So if you can volunteer, even if it's part-time, volunteer, you get to know people, you get to know the industry, and it's going to help you. Yeah. And lastly, prep yourself for the interview. This is a shameless plug. I'm just saying I have a great interview program, but if you want to get someone else's, I don't even care. But people say, I'm going to go in and wing it. I'm going to wing it. And I interviewed, I told you this, Kristin, hundreds of people, and I sat in on 2 excellent interviews. Out of all of those people, and I'm talking about people with master's degrees, they could not interview that well. So you need to be prepped to interview well. But those 5 things are the things that I've used, and have been successful in helping a lot of people find jobs.
Yeah, that's amazing. I love all of that. And, I feel like some people feel embarrassed when they meet somebody and they just ask them, what industry are you in? Could you get me in? Right? Like asking almost for a favor. But I wanted to point out something, have you ever done like a giving tree where they have little tags? I know at church they do them, a tag, and it's like 9-year-old boy is asking for a new pair of shoes, right? So we do, or you can do an entire family and you're getting the entire family stuff. You know what so many people are seeking out is they want to see the person or the family receive the gift. It makes them feel good, right?
Yes, it does.
And so I think people need to realize that when you ask somebody, if someone asked me about banking and asked if I had any contacts or connections, which I do, and which they have asked me before, I am more than happy to connect them. And I also follow up to see how that went for them. And it's okay to do that. Most humans actually get a sense of joy and potentially pride out of doing that for somebody. Yeah. So I would say, don't be embarrassed to put yourself out there and just ask for that assistance.
Kristin, when we do our entrepreneurship podcast, we're going to do soon, I will share a lot more about this, but as you know, and we're going to talk more about this as well. It's 2 things. We've expanded our company and we've got some dynamic people that's come on board. But I tell people when they come on board, you need to pretend you have no other income. You can't survive unless you go make it happen for 3 months. And I had to swallow my pride because I went from academy director where people were calling me to come speak. And then all of a sudden I had to sell myself. And I did my 8-hour online course. And I thought, if I pop that out on the internet, that thing's going to sell like hotcakes. Well, it didn't. And I swallowed my pride. I got on the phone and started working the phone. I'm not going to say how much I made, but it was pretty significant for 2 weeks that I was calling people that I knew, in industry and so forth, calling executives. I didn't want to do it. Now, once you do it a few times, you get comfortable.
Right.
So it just takes some time, but we do have to put ourselves out there. And if you're younger, you're looking for a job, be willing to do whatever it takes to get that job. Set yourself apart.
Right. Absolutely. Yeah, I love that.
Anything else, Kristin?
Nope. No, I was just, when I was positive, of course I'm thinking, you guys can't see my thinking face if you're listening, but it is important. I managed an outbound call center for 2.5 years before I went into banking. And I will tell you, I was so puckered up the first phone call I made. And then as it goes on, you feel better and better and better. And before you know it, this was not literal, but felt like I had my feet up on my desk, hands behind my head, and I could, sell anything, talk to anybody. Right. And that sets you up for a very successful future. And so if you can just start there and admit that you're puckered up in the beginning, like that's freaking normal, folks. Like that is just human nature. So you got to do it.
It reminded me the first time I went to an optometrist, it was the same thing. I was nervous, and now when I go, it's no big deal.
Oh, you weren't kidding when you said this is not the end.
I said I'm not going to let this slide. Everyone, send Kristin a message through social media to go see the eye doctor.
It'll make my heart rate go up. Literally, I had to go to the doctor recently, routine stuff, and my heart rate went up just going there. And then they're like, "Oh, your heart rate's fast." I'm like, "I know. It happens anytime I step in this building." So yeah, it's just fun.
All right, we apologize to all plumbers. And
no, they make a lot of money.
I was talking about your nickname for them was not good.
The turd herders?
That was not good.
Really? I mean, I don't know. That was just like Southwest Washington country. But
okay, everybody.
Ron wants me to. I apologize for calling you turd herders, but that is literally. I guess not everyone is actually using, working on pipes that actually contain waste. So
that's right. Don't take no crap, plumbers. All right, everybody. Be the leader you're meant to be.
We'll see you next week.
The Dirty Side of Leadership podcast is brought to you by Forward Operations. If you'd like to book Ron or Kristin for speaking events, training, or executive coaching, visit forwardoperations.com. Be the leader you're meant to be.